What is up, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Because Yes Because. And of course, as always, I am your humble host, Niko House. So I wanted to cover something that I felt was extremely important to cover because it really has been going under discussed. Now, we all have become pretty familiar with how marginalized communities, specifically communities of color, are suffering disproportionately from COVID-19. Now, there are a plethora of reasons depending on which community you're discussing. If you're talking about lower income Black communities, for example, they tend to be more susceptible to not only getting the coronavirus, but also dying because they have a lot of other comorbidities like diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, etc., the things that come, unfortunately, with being poor in the Black community. Now, another community is being affected disproportionately by the coronavirus, but they're being affected in a unique way. And unfortunately, they're also being affected and infected because of the pure evil of one man named Netanyahu. Not only are they being denied resources, but they're even being scapegoated in the spread for the spread of the virus in the Israeli community outside of the Arab community. So let's look at this really quick. So the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu accused the Palestinian population of Israel of being least likely to abide by social distancing orders. Now, I don't know if you are familiar with this, but in the 1300s, Europeans actually blamed Jewish people for the Black Death, the bubonic plague, and persecuted and killed Jewish people for doing so. Now in 2020, we are living in not so hilarious irony where you have the home of the Jewish people and the leaders of that state scapegoating Palestinians in the exact same way. Now, it goes even further. And the reason why is because even if this was true and he was being genuine, let's analyze the reasons as to why that would be the case. Like, let's just say if they are more likely to spread the virus to no fault of their own, why would that be the case? Well, Israel, as you can imagine, the Jewish-filled communities are full of hospitals, full of pharmacies. In fact, they even have drive-through testing in a lot of these Israeli communities. Guess how many drive-through testing centers they have in the Arab communities? I'm sure it didn't take that long for you to guess. That's right, 0. So it's not like people can know if they would have the virus because they can't even go get tested for it. The blockades are obviously still up. The sanctions against Palestine are still in place. So they were already getting piss poor medical care to begin with. So if that was true, instead of scapegoating them and saying, well, hey, stay away from these Palestinians, stay away from these Arabs, they're more likely to spread the virus. They're more likely to not adhere to the social distancing rules. Then your next statement as a leader who isn't a white supremacist should be, that is why we're going to make sure we build more hospitals. We're going to, whatever sanctions or whatever problems we have with Palestine, we're going to put that stuff on hold because saving lives is more important than our political beef. So we're going to make sure that this drive-through testing is available. We're going to open up our hospitals to them. We're going to build more hospitals there because we want to make sure that we contain this virus, because understanding how viruses work, if it is not contained in Palestine, obviously where's the next step? It's going to end up spreading to Israel at a higher rate than it would be. That's the common sense, non-racist thing to do. But of course, Netanyahu obviously has been able to maintain his office and his power through corruption and scapegoating. These are the facts. They haven't even been able to get reliable information like Palestinians haven't been able to. They haven't been able to get any type of reliable information about the virus, about how to stop it from spreading. And yet they've even passed laws that allow the chief rabbis, for example, they've made it okay that during the Sabbath, you can use your cell phone in order for you to get reliable information about COVID-19 and how to prevent it spreading. That's a big deal in case you didn't know. You don't touch any electronics on the Sabbath. They've taken measures in every other aspect of Israeli society to ensure that the spreading of the virus doesn't kill off more people than it would need to. And yet, it seems, if you're being completely and totally honest and objective here, it looks like Netanyahu is trying to purposely spread the virus in the state of Palestine. Don't believe me? Let's look even further. The lack of access to clean drinking water. You all know that's been a problem for quite some time in Palestine. Now, if they have a lack of access to clean drinking water, water to shower, how much access do you think they have to water, or for water to do something what we perceive as simple and innocuous as washing your hands to ensure that you don't spread the virus, right? How much access? Not much, right? Okay, so the problem is that the lack of clean drinking water and the lack of clean water in general is in fact exacerbating the problem. Now, their water rights have not been renegotiated in decades. I don't know if you ever seen some of these stories that have come out where in the summertime, if there seems to be a drought or a water shortage, what Israel will do is actually cut off the water to Palestine with no notice to the Palestinian people. Now, that's usually, by the way, done in the spring and in the summertime, which we are in the middle of what? So now you're about to see this situation in Palestine exacerbated because they already had little to no access, or at least poor access to clean drinking water. Now we're about to see that access turn into an increased infection rate, most likely because they already didn't have access, so now they're not going to be able to wash their hands effectively. Now, because their water rights haven't been negotiated in decades, and in the past, this was partially mitigated by the aquifer in the Gaza Strip, but with the sea level rise in the Mediterranean Sea, the aquifer has become increasingly salinized. In other words, too much salt in it. Israel has maintained blockades that prevent the infrastructural changes needed from being carried out. In other words, they could open up the blockade just during this virus. They could open up the blockade to ensure that even if the government doesn't want to help, the volunteers can. Volunteers can go in and handle their business with no assistance from the Israeli government, not like they would give any anyway. But they're not even letting people go into Palestine using their own effort, using money that they've gotten through fundraising to ensure that people don't die, to ensure that this virus isn't spread amongst the community. It's sad, I know. But it says, because what little water is, what little water accessibility in Gaza that they have is dirty with the little bit of water that they do have, illness is already rampant there. And of course, this has been made worse during the pandemic. Now over a third of the average income of Palestinians was already spent on water, and that was prior to the pandemic starting. Now, given that the pandemic has taken hold, I imagine it'll probably be more than that, but I'd be interested to see where they even be able to get that water from, given that the blockades haven't been lifted. It's sad overall, it really is. Now, I don't know if you all know this, but prison populations have obviously been considered high risk because you're living in close quarters. It's dirty, it's cold, it's just not a fun environment to be in. On top of that, you don't really, like, you have soap, but it ain't really the best. You know, you can stay clean, but like, you know, it's sketchy clean. It's a sketchy level of cleanliness in prison. So obviously, I don't know if you've heard, but like in some places, they've even been releasing prisons that are, you know, low risk. They've been trying to keep prisoners as far away from each other as possible. Now, in Palestine, you know, they got a different, or Israel, I should say, they have a different mindset. While everybody else in the world is trying to decrease the prison population because they understand that the virus can spread rampantly in these prisons, Israel decided, you know, we're going to take the opposite approach. We're going to increase the prison population, but not just any prison population, ladies and gentlemen. They've increased the prison population amongst children. They've increased, this is according to a report. It says it came out on April 21st, so not that long ago. It showed that there has been a 6% increase in Palestinian children detained in Israeli prisons since January. So essentially since the coronavirus had made its way into Israel and the rest of the country, or the rest of the world. A 6% increase in detained children. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Now with this logic, Mr. BB, it seems to me that the Palestinians aren't most likely to spread it. It seems like the Israeli government is most likely to spread it. At this point, you would have to consider this gross negligence. In my humble opinion, this is an impeachable offense. These are impeachable offenses. The refusal to lift the blockade. I mean, the circumstances that could be mitigated with a pen stroke from Netanyahu, a press release from Netanyahu, an executive, or what we would call an executive order. But instead, he is exacerbating the problem and seemingly on purpose. Now, Israelis still go into Palestine for various reasons, whether it's the IDF or Israeli military forces. Like, they still go in and out of Palestine. They can still contract the virus. And treating the Palestinian people this way will almost ensure that at least some Israelis who go into Palestine will absolutely contract the virus, which means that at least some Israelis will be bringing that virus back with them into Israel, which means that you could be exacerbating the coronavirus situation in Israel. This is gross negligence, amongst other things. This is I would go as far as to say this is almost manslaughter, if not gross negligence. But this is life as a Palestinian. This is something that should be being discussed more often. We try to talk about Palestinians' rights as much as we can, in the midst of all this craziness going on in the United States. We try to cover it whenever we can, but it should be talked about more. Shout out to the guys and the women at the Gray Zone. They do a very good job of covering Palestinian stories. This is something that one of our researchers found, and I just was like, I was floored. I couldn't believe it. Seeing something like this, seeing the comments from Netanyahu, you would think that this man should be in jail. This is like a evil doer out of a freaking comic book. This man is so bad, but yet here we are once again. So Marcus Will, thank you very much for the super chat. The Jerusalem Post posted a story that they received 1 million masks from the United States during the COVID shortage. The story was edited, but it's still archived. Oh, wow. I did not know that, considering that we were supposedly short on masks, huh? It's crazy how that works. So overall, by the way, there's a lot more to this story, but I'm gonna cut it off there because, like I said, it's saying more sad stuff. I don't know what to tell you. They're purposely stopping the Palestinian people from building infrastructure. They're purposely stopping them from being able to sanitize. They're purposely stopping them. They're keeping them in close quarters. They're increasing the prison population amongst the children, the Arab children. They're bringing them into Israel and increasing the prison population there. It's increased by 6% instead of decrease like every other location in the world. This is the apartheid state. And I strongly encourage you all speak out about this, talk about this, help grow awareness on this, because I feel like it is not being discussed enough. Love to know what your thoughts are about this. Like this video, share this video, leave a comment below, but always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace. If you like that segment of Mikasa Sukasa, don't forget to like the video and smash that subscribe button. Want access to members only live streams, behind the scenes footage, and other premium content? Well, you can endorse us on Rockman Premium, become a patron through Patreon, or you can sign up for the MCSC Premium membership through YouTube. All the links are in the description below. But hey, more than anything else,
always remember,
Find your balance.
Find your balance.
Find your balance.
Find your balance. Find your balance.
Find your balance. Find your balance.
Always remember, more than anything else, find your balance.
Peace.